So good evening to all. Music is powerful, right? We were talking with Frankie, that actually we need to reach, hopefully, the mind and the heart, and even the viscera, if we really want to provoke or create, promote change. But I understand Frankie's concept. It's beautiful and rounded. But I want to thank very deeply, Marielle and Christian for inviting us here. They are an example of, persons, everybody has said so, but creating change, a wave of change. It's unbelievable being here in Bregenz, of all the places of the world, talking to you, having a dialogue, hopefully. And that's thanks to a few people, who have an idea, brilliant idea, and then follow it. And of course, English is not my mother language, Spanish, so please bear with me in that sense. As Marielle was saying, I would love to tell you a little bit about my trajectory, and I would like to do like a little, recognition to indigenous peoples, because actually I am an ecologist because of the lessons, the wisdom that was passed to me by indigenous people that I ended up calling rooted peoples. Indian, the word Indian comes from a mistake that Cristobal Colon made. He thought he was arriving to India, and they called the people there Indians. And so I don't like that word very much. I'm thinking very deeply about what indigenous peoples are. It's a kind of ambiguous concept, but I ended up calling them rooted peoples, people who have roots in place and in community, something that so many of us lack, belonging to a community and belonging to a place, to an ecosystem. Because in many cases, in big cities, it's like you live in an anonymous society. You know this, and this is a little bit has to do with the American way of life. So, talking to the young people yesterday and the day before yesterday, I was saying, we think in Western civilization, Western culture or civilization, all these are very strange terms, if you think about them. Western regarding what? It's the west of Europe, it seems, and it's the United States and so on. It's full of connotations, whatever. But we think that we invented high technology, right? That's absolutely, totally wrong. In fact, many of the technologies around us, like cars, are primitive technologies. A machine that is burning a fossil fuel that is becoming scarcer and scarcer, or with the desperation to keep burning oil, we are doing now that, exploiting the tar sands in Canada, or doing the fracking, etc. But if you think that engine, combustion engine, explosion engine, is burning this fuel, oil, and it's expelling, noxious gases by a tube from behind, And we think this is a high technology. It's a primitive, entropic, low technology. And you see, when you look at certain feats that indigenous peoples have, done. This is Sacsayhuaman. Maybe some of you have had the privilege of being in Cusco. This is Cusco in Peru, the capital of the so-called Inca Empire. And without, being esoteric or anything, nobody knows. I have friends, architects, constructors. Nobody understands how this was done, how this can be done. Supposedly, they would be there, the rest, they had no cranes, no steel, no pulleys, no industrial helicopters, you know what I mean? How was this done? Some of these blocks are 30 ton, 40 ton. And there is no cement on top of everything between them. There's no cement. They fit, and they are asymmetrical. They are asymmetrical. Because somehow, pyramids of Egypt, they are amazing, but they are built with regular blocks. So with a lot of manpower, and maybe even slavery, whatever, you can understand how they were built. Though the interiors of the pyramids are very strange. The chambers inside, they are an engineering feat. But seriously, this nobody understands how was done. There are theories about how Stonehenge was built, how the Moais in Easter Island were, moved and put up, whatever. But here, there is a total mystery. I'm just trying to say, what I was telling you. We think we invented high technology, There are so many mysteries and wonders in this planet. So we should open our minds a little bit more. I have been there for days, and I was totally amazed the whole day long. And like your mind stops functioning because there's no more theories. It's just wonder, and mystery. And it's so beautiful to be in that state. No more theories. This is a meeting in 1979. I read in the papers that there was going to be the first meeting of American indigenous peoples in Ollantaytambo, in the sacred valley of the Incas, very close to Cusco. And I felt the urge, just the way I accepted Mariel's and Christian's invitation by intuition, because we received many invitations, but I felt the urge to go to this reunion of indigenous leaders. You can see there the diversity of people, the seriousness of the faces, the beauty of the clothing. That's a flag that means, unity of South America, actually. Tahuantinsuyo, the unity of the whole continent of South America. That's, again, another expression of that. And then again, the constructions that we all call them, forts. Like we always think it's related to war. And in many cases, they are places of harmony. They are ceremonial, ritual places. The way they worked granite is a mystery. Again, remember, no power tools, no steel. How you cut the stone like this, without steel and power tools? It seems as if they could work the stone as butter, or cheese. There are many esoteric theories, the Orphic Kabbalah, or extraterrestrials, or plant juices that allow them to melt the stones and then rebuild them again, etc. Well, maybe, who knows? And then the ceremonial thing, Every morning I would get up really early and go to the ruins, and I would see this. Different groups from different areas, different localities, doing ceremonies at dawn. Different kinds of ceremonies with different, paraphernalia. This ritual, ceremonial life, so rich, so deep, and always, always related to the relationship between human beings and nature. Look at that. How do you do that, You can see so much, love in a way. You cannot do something like that without really enjoying what you are doing, without love. It's so aesthetic, it's so beautiful, That's not forced labor, I think. Again, the lichens there. And then community, as I was saying, this capacity to work together, the assembly thing, meet and talk and talk. If it takes days and nights, well, days and nights, talking about the problems of the community, the problem with the land, with the soil, with the invasion, with the invasions, etc., But the communal thing is so powerful among Andean peoples. The beauty, the art, responsibility. This kid here is, what do you think, 14 years old, maybe? Well, maybe, right? It's hard to tell, but I would guess 14, 15. He's an authority. He has already un cargo, He has a role for a year. He has to work with the elders or whatever, with the other people who are somehow managing the community affairs. What I'm trying to say, since very young in this culture, we have to take responsibility for the management of community affairs. And look at his face, very serious. He's not liking, in fact, the fact that I'm taking the picture. I said, sorry, please, but still, And this staff signals that he's an authority, and this is a pututo, which is a conch shell that you can blow like a powerful trumpet, They make calls for different things, even emergencies, right? Another authority there with his pututo. Gobernadores. Another common denominator among rooted peoples, art. Beauty all around. But beauty and art is not for the museum, it's not for the art gallery, it's for using it, it's for living it, on your body. The vessel from which you drink, right, is beautiful. Surround yourself with beauty. Look at hats, how elaborate they are. And every locality has different colors, different weaving, different hats, and full of colors. This is really powerful. Now we talk about chromatherapy and all this, In Chile, we dress, dark blue, gray, black. You go to the Plaza de Armas in Santiago, the main square, in winter, and it's just black and gray, And in a way, this has to do with living in beauty, beautiful, natural beauty. So they are giving back to the ecosystem the beauty they get from the ecosystem. The clean sky, etc., the flowers, literally, the green grass. It's a reciprocity process. Dancing, feasts, fiestas, and the fiestas are always, they are called, in fact, fiestas religiosas. Very gay fiestas, but always there is a spiritual component. And indigenous people also are very syncretic, which is an aspect of humanity. They gather from other cultures the beautiful things, the beautiful symbols. So from the Christian tradition, Catholic tradition, they had no problem in incorporating the image of Jesus Christ, who is the best in a male, in a man, and the Virgin Mary, which is the best in a woman, in a female. No problem. They incorporated it in a syncretic way, right? And this is another experience I had. I lived 8 months with the Huichol Indians in the Sierra Madre Occidental in Mexico. Again, it was a magical happening. My father was living in Guadalajara. I was in Toronto, Canada, studying, doing my master in environmental studies. And I had seen pictures of the Huichol Indians. You're going to see them. They are striking. So since my father was kind of close to there, I said, Daddy, can you maybe arrange so I can go and live with these people for a couple of weeks, whatever. I ended up being hired by a governmental institution, and I spent 8 months. In fact, I'm serious, they didn't want to let me go, and I had to go. If not, I would lose my visa in Canada, my master would, But I could have stayed longer. It was an amazing experience. That's my first wife, Soko, and my oldest daughter, Francisca. They gave me a jeep, they gave me a budget, I said, in fact, it was pretty curious, go and do something for this indigenous group and take high boots, buy a gun, and buy antidotes for scorpion bite and rattlesnake bite. We did neither, In fact, I went, you're going to see, with huaraches, sandals, Mexican sandals. In fact, we bought the antidote because it's full of scorpions and rattlesnakes. But the antidote is maybe more dangerous than the poison of the. It's made of horse blood, and you can have a very bad anaphylactic reaction against the antidote. You can die from the antidote. It's true. So, magic. Doing my first contacts, somebody, a Huichol living in Guadalajara, says, hey, a person needs to go to the ocean to do a ceremony. Can you take him in the jeep? Well, this man had been elected gobernador for a year. Pedro Catarro Medina. When they name them gobernadores, they cry for the first 12 hours because they know they're going to be working 24 hours, 7 days a week for the next year. But of course they accept, but literally, it's like totally overwhelming, and they are dreamed by a council of elders, So this man that I took to the ocean was becoming the gobernador. Very lucky, very synchronic. And he needed to go to the ocean, Aramara, to ask for the blessing for his year of, being a governor. Aramara, I named one of my second daughter Aramara, means mother of the waters, because they see very correctly that clouds come from the ocean, and the clouds bring the rain. So the ocean is the mother of the waters, Aramara, beautiful name. And he's bringing offerings, you see, very happy to be in the ocean. Please look at his clothing. Everybody is an artist, men and women. Since very young, everybody, they walk making things. They walk making the hats, making the shoes, the huaraches, embroidering. It's amazing. At the end, an elder can have his whole suit full of these beautiful flowers and scorpions and peyote flowers, etc. Beauty all around. And he's giving these candles to Aramara. This is very important. I learned too late about this. Using, how you call this? Fajas. When you work very hard the land and you walk up mountains and down mountains, etc., you have to protect your lower back, your kidneys and your lower belly. I was a worker in the land. I didn't do this, and I hurt my lower back, etc. So every single rooted people I have met uses this system, lots of these belts to protect, as I say, your body. Offerings, this is quite striking. They are making offerings to maybe the most polluted lake in Mexico. Lago Chapala, there is a river that is an open sewer, immense, that brings all the sewage from Mexico City into this lake. For them, it's still a totally sacred place. And even more amazing, please don't make any expression there, they drink the water. If you drink that, you're going to be sick, very sick. You can have typhoidea, hepatitis, gastritis, colitis, you know what I mean? They have developed a very powerful resistance to many pathogens. In fact, they have 50% infant mortality. 50% of the young kids die. But this has to do today with the fact that these people were nomadic, transhumants, and they were forced to live in a little reservation. The same thing we found in the Upper Biobío with the Pehuenche. And the same thing that is happening today. The Chinese government is forcing 1 million, in the plateau, Changtang Plateau, Tibetan Plateau, they are forcing 1 million nomads to live now, to become sedentary and live in tin houses. This is being done now by the Chinese government. So that's a dilemma. So what I want to say, they didn't have 50% infant mortality before, when they were free and they could move around their huge territory. Here I am. No laughter, please. That's your server here, your humble server. Yes, I was a hippie. And it is funny, they gave me these letters of presentation, the authorities of Jalisco. I was working for this very paternalistic institution called Desarrollo Integral de la Familia that depends from the gobernador of the state, actually of the wife of the gobernador. And they gave me these letters. I presented the letters to the leaders there, and they looked at the paper and said, maybe good for rolling a cigarette. Total lack of, respect for Mexican authorities. So in fact, I realized that the only thing I could do was paternalism. So I started bringing 2 truckloads of useful things every month. I mean, hoses, tools, seeds, even plants, fruit trees, blankets, pots, antibiotics, soap, I would go back to Guadalajara and Mexico City and do, it's not fundraising, it's stuff raising, and bring all that back to the community. And we discovered that it's not a perfect world, so if we gave the stuff to the leaders, maybe they would keep them and even sell them. So finally, and some people, advised us, we started giving all the stuff That's my daughter there again, and the tracks. This was an adventure. Every time we went up the Sierra Madre, it was an adventure, and going back, amazing adventures. Risky, eh? Risky. The roads, mountain roads full of dust and rocks, you know, beautiful. So there we are, you know, the blankets, the kids are coming from the different localities. The Huicholes are unbelievable walkers, you know. You're going to see here some pictures later, this kind of territory. It's mesetas and canyons, mesetas and canyons. And they live all scattered, because that's another common denominator of rooted peoples, scattering over the territory. You know, the opposite of our pattern of inhabiting the earth with cities and megalopolis, you know. They never used to do that. In fact, in Bolivia now, I think there is a problem, you know, because a world was imposed over Andean peoples, and La Paz and El Alto, it's chaos, you know, and the sewage question is terrible because a world was imposed on them. Their pattern, their way of inhabiting the territory is scattering over the territory. And the Huichol still live like this today. They're being harassed by the cattle ranchers, by the miners, by the foresters. It's as if they want to make them disappear. Seriously, I had to fight myself. You know, when I was there, we had many clashes with all this interest, trying to eat away the little reduction that they have, you know. Terrible, and this is constant. So in fact, I bought a mule to carry the weight, you know, and we were doing this kind of trips to visit the localities, the communities. On this trip here, when this picture was taken, we were coming, you won't believe me, but yes, from there. So you get up really early in the morning, dark, and with luck, you are here. You have to go down, into the bottom of the valley, come by the valley, come up, and then come. This is a cliff, very high cliff. And we were walking with local people, you know, several times with elders, but I mean elders, 100 years old. You know, they're waiting with an amazing patience for us, you know, very skinny, powerful. They can sleep in the floor during the night in the mountain like nothing. They go like in a fetal position. You know, they use no underwear. Sorry, but I discovered that. They use, no, what I mean is, you know, just sounded strange, but you know, I mean, they just have this clothing you see outside, that's it. It's cotton full of embroideries, but that's it, you know, and no overwear, no coats, no parkas. Yes, the belt. It's not belt, huh? The faja is garter, I don't know, whatever. But, you know, sometimes, you know, you work with them regarding many things, and it was as if we were from different planets. I'm serious, you know. When we went to harvest the peyote in Wirikuta, because they use the peyote, it's a cactus, hallucinogenic cactus with a lot of mescaline that they use in their ritual cycle, right? I was on top of a truck crossing the desert, and there was an elder next to me. We were 50 people, and we were on top of the roof of the cabin, the chauffeur's cabin. And I was freezing. I was having a problem with hypothermia. I had a leather jacket, an alpaca sweater, you know, a shirt, an undershirt, hat, and I started going with hypothermia, like 2-3 degrees below, and the truck is moving, and this elder is sitting next to me, you know. When he looked at me, wow, you know. He said, in fact, try that the cold penetrates you, passes through you. Know, I couldn't apply the system. I had to get out and stay in a place, and then, you know, join them the day after, literally. There you see these rooted peoples. Beauty, you can say they're very poor, and that's because of the aggression and the cornering, but you know, they are so rich. You know, I felt envious because of their community life, because of their wisdom. I saw even energetic phenomena, without being esoteric again, that I will never understand. You know, I think they are telepaths, I'm serious. I saw very strange phenomena. Look at the tenderness, that daddy with his baby, you know, the little flower. You know, you can meet men by the mountains and in the spring, and everybody, men and women, are wearing flower petals all around the eyes. The men too, you know, full of petals. No problem with beauty. And the kids are totally disciplined. I don't know how to say that. There's no tantrums. You know, I discovered, you know, the Chilean people, we complain constantly. I'm trying to, you know, change, but you know, I'm tired, I'm this, I'm that. You know what I mean? But really, Chilean people are strange in that sense. In this culture, nobody ever complains. It doesn't exist. Complaint doesn't exist. You know? We were for days and days fasting, sexual abstinence. You cannot wash when you are going to the peyote. You cannot eat. You cannot sleep. Sleep deprivation for days, nights and nights and nights. No more sleep, because they want to join the conscious and the unconscious. I guess, I don't know. You know? They change the names of everybody. You can only drink liquids. And 50 people on top of an empty bed truck. Nobody ever complains. Totally stoic. It doesn't exist in the culture. That was really amazing, among many other things. And here, they are learning virtually how you do the trip to Wirikuta to harvest the peyote. The shamans are singing to the kids, you know, now we are starting, and now we are stopping in this water hole and doing this ceremony, and now we are going to this forest and doing that. They learn virtually in their minds first the trip to Wirikuta. And then when they do it, they have the map in their minds. Very sophisticated. Here we are going to the peyote, blessing a water hole. And this is interesting, totally against market rules. They are fantastic artisans, as I said. So they sell crafts in Mexican cities, even in North American cities. They move. They are really skilled in that sense, but they always come back. They think we are crazy. They told me, in fact. And with the money they get selling their crafts, they buy, for example, candles in Mexico City or Guadalajara, and then they give these offerings back to Mother Nature. So the money they make, in a way, goes back to Mother Nature. I would say these people spend 60% of their lives, it's just a metaphor, around their spiritual life rather than subsistence. You know what I mean? That the emphasis is culture, spirituality in a very concrete way. You know? Not words, not statements, just the real thing. You know? And all together, always collective. This is a root with water that gives this pigment, and when it dries up, it shines, I swear. It's so beautiful. Yellow like the sun. And that is the peyote. It has been studied by many people, Gordon Wasson, Peter Furst, Barbara Meyerhoff. You know, these people are like a little favorite of anthropology. They are supposed to be the least acculturated indigenous people in America because they found refuge in the Sierra Madre Occidental to keep their culture alive. But finally, of course, the priests came and the civilization came and the miners came and the cattle ranchers came. There we are, harvesting the peyote with my daughter, with my machete. Everything in the environment has spines. You have to move really well there. Now I think that maybe they might be harvesting too much peyote because they go in a truck. I got the truck, 10-ton truck, before they went walking. So that limited the amount of peyote you could harvest, right? There's a problem there. And in fact, they have to hunt. You see the rifle? They have to hunt a deer, so the ritual is complete. Because they have like a trinity. It's a bit a projection of us, but deer, corn, deer, el ciervo, el peyote, el corn, and the peyote. Peyote, deer, corn. But in fact, there are many more elements. That's a projection of the Judeo-Christian, I think, paradigm. Because the fire, for example, is a key. You don't enter a camp before you feed the fire. Before you say hello to the people, you feed the fire. Tatewari, and the fire is a bridge. Because when they eat the peyote, lots of peyote, after a week of fasting, sexual abstinence may be for a couple of months, depending on the vocation and of the person, you know. And they reach without eating, without sleeping, without sexual abstinence for a while, etc. They reach Wirikuta, more ceremonies, and then they eat a lot of peyote. I couldn't eat, I mean, I could eat slivers, but they eat it like apples after a week of fasting. And if you say it's bitter, because for us it's bitter, but if you say that, you are bitter. So you have to be very careful. You are bitter. They say, it's delicious, it's sweet, And then they sit in lotus position around the fire and meditate, looking at the fire with the eyes open, like the Tibetan style. Not eyes closed, eyes open. Sometimes somebody can go too far and people start surrounding them with candles that you can get lost, too far. So the question is, what are these people doing with all this? We were talking, look at that kid there, being taught by the grandfather. Shamanic transmission is from grandfather to grandchild, not from father to son. They jump a generation. But just to close this part, what are they doing? Why are they doing all this? Stop eating, no sex, no sleep. And when no washing, and you are going in the truck, so you start being covered with dust, like the Australian Aboriginals that cover themselves with ashes, with water, They are deconstructing, trying to stop being human, so human, as Nietzsche said, for a little while. So you can go back to the unity of everything. And it's a very feminine thing what they are doing, So the first night, this is a bit funny, but it's totally true. The first night when you start this pilgrimage, a couple of very tall guys come with a lasso, tie you by your arm, take you away from the bonfire, and hang the rope and so from your arm. You are hanging like this. And they say, please, recapitulate all your sexual life. They're not Catholic, This is not moral. You have to recapitulate. So the theories of anthropologists is that somehow, since they are going back into Mother Earth, you have to be, again, in a way, not morally, whatever, pure. So you don't commit incest, something like this, And just for you to joke, they couldn't believe how poor our sexual life was. Okay. Come on. Okay, yes. Seriously, they couldn't believe it. They are very active, it seems, sexually, super active. It's in the literature. Another thing that is in the literature, these people, when they reach a certain level of disease or grief, they can let themselves die. They just curl and die. Not immediately, but they let themselves die. This is studied in the literature. Nobody understands the phenomenon or whatever, but anyway, just, imagine everything I was taking in: community, belonging, art. Look at the suits, the clothing of those guys. Shamans, very friendly once they know you and they trust you, very distrustful with many people, because this man, in fact, I advised my institution to hire a doctor because we found many problems related to water management and parasites and all this. He died, he crashed in a plane. After I left, he stayed there helping, working for the Huichol, and he died in a plane crash. Eduardo Ayón. Atole, this corn mush, beautiful, different colors, purple, yellow, red, old corn, very old corn. Drinking a beer or two with the friends. And here I reach the Pehuenches in the Biobío, but I'm going to show you that in another presentation here. I'm going to go fast, Mariel, I swear to you. Just so you remember Chile a little bit, it's super important. Our country is very peculiar. The school kids did not know really where Chile was or how it was. They didn't know who Salvador Allende was, in two schools. No notion, Salvador Allende. No notion of who Augusto Pinochet is. Two Austrian, Bregan schools. And the kids were complaining, in fact, about the teachers in a way. And that's the way of, but they were saying, well, we need courses of contemporary, history or whatever, what's happening in Latin America, Africa, Asia, like in a bubble, in a way. That's complicated. But anyway, very fast, very long country, 4,000 kilometers long, 150 kilometers average width. This is one part in Chile that is 95 kilometers wide. So our rivers are short. We have a very high rate of endemism because Chile is an island between one of the highest cordilleras in the world, Cordillera de los Andes, full of volcanoes, full of thermal spots, the driest desert in the world with the highest solar radiation in the world, more than Sahara. The clearest skies in the world. That's why all the observatories are going to the north of Chile. We are using zero of this solar energy, zero. Not like Germany, We are not using our geothermal potential. We are not using our oceanic potential. 4,000 kilometers of littoral, waves, currents, tides, nothing. We are not using our wind. We have 18,000 megawatts of installed capacity and only 18 mega of wind power. I'll tell you why, because it's pretty strange. And very fast, this is the first campaign for which I received the Right Livelihood Award, defending the Bio River. That's it. Look at that volcano there, Kayaki, very important, active volcano, pure waters, absolutely pure in those days. Volcanic material, you can see how active the volcanoes have been. There is a raft there. The pictures are old and used, worn, But there's a raft, and that's just a symbol of the tourism that was starting to boom in the upper Bio, and that died with the building of the dams, died to zero, okay? And the Pehuenches were starting to get involved in providing services to these tourists in the rafts or whatever, and that died forever. Nobody wants to see a hurt river, even killed river. That's the forest there, literally infinite. That's a Pudú miniature deer, unique to Chile and Argentina, totally in danger of extinction. That's the puma that the Pehuenche call the tapeñi, is the old brother. In the Andean cultures and indigenous cultures of South America, the sun is the grandfather's son, Inti Taitachu. The moon is the Quilla Mamacha, is the grandmother or mother moon. The earth is Mother Earth, is, Pachamama. But this is not a metaphor. For these cultures, they come, the earth is their mother, and it is. You want air, you want water, you want food, you want quality of life, nature, 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 nature. But they know that from within, not as a theory, they feel it from throughout their being. That's a Bio being born in the highlands. That's a Pehuenche inside of a beautiful forest of Araucaria. And this picture, what I say is, many rooted peoples, not all of them, we cannot idealize. They knew how to live, flow with the ecosystem, with the homeostasis of ecosystem without harming them one little bit. Not all of them, not all of them. Let's not idealize. Look at the Maya, look at the Easter Island. Easter Island, the old Easter Islanders, they collapsed their ecosystem for religious reasons, in fact, for building pyramids. It's always the males, in fact. Yes, and it's very phallic, who builds the largest pyramids and the larger Moai and whatever. In Easter Island, the whole island was covered with forests. 6 species of very large trees. They had a giant palm, and they used all the forest to move the Moai and put them there until they destroyed their ecosystem. They started starving. They ended up eating each other. For an archaeologist, it's really easy to see signs of anthropophagy. The bones are marked with tools, with things, and open to eat the marrow. So, not all indigenous people, and even very sophisticated indigenous people have had that blind spot regarding the fundamental thing, the ecological imperative. Very wise in many other ways, the Maya, astronomers, artists, but they didn't see the ecological issue, at all. This is the sacred tree of the Pehuenche. Provides the seeds. The piñón is the basic staple food of the community, has been for centuries. That's their ceremonial ground, Guillatún. Everybody comes by different localities and they get together, and they spend 3 days and 3 nights fasting the first day and first night, and then feasting. It's a multi-purpose ceremony, really. Social, ceremonial, everything is happening there. Couples are meeting, marriages are being made, problems of the community. In fact, these guillatunes were related to the fact that a forestry company wanted to expel this community from this place. And we were helping them. And in fact, we were able to stop that. That's the way I got to know the Bio Bio in the 1988, way before the prize, defending the Araucaria tree and the Pehuenche people. Ceremony, they put in the center of the ceremony a tree, an Araucaria tree. This tells you immediately, as an anthropologist, whatever, these people are much more biocentric, or they are biocentric. We are anthropocentric. Go into a temple in the Judeo-Christian tradition. I don't want to offend anybody. But the shape, the structure is pretty curious. You have a lower ground where the public sits, higher ground where the priests officiate. You know what I mean? But in a way, it's like a stage, and then closed and very elaborate temples, churches, all this. In this case, it's exactly the opposite. Again, it's deconstructing, just like the Huicholes. They believe that the higher level of consciousness can be achieved in primary nature, as less manhandled by human beings as possible. Under the sun, under the rain, exposed to the wind, that's where you do your ceremony. And in fact, once you start the ceremony and you put up your fire, you cannot leave that, and you have to keep the fire for the 3 days and 3 nights. Rituals, all of them have an opening, a process, and a closure. And that has to be done carefully. The 3 phases have to be there. So this is the atmosphere. It's a very bad picture, but I stayed until everybody had left after the 3 days and 3 nights. I could hear the drum, tum, 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 in the mountains. The atmosphere was so, so beautiful when human beings, respect the earth and share and, flow with nature. And the drama is coming, the dams are coming. Nomadic peoples forced to remain in one single place. This was the Chilean Republic that cornered them. They moved by a huge territory from the height, you don't know Chile, but it was a huge territory. And they moved by Chile and Argentina. They were forced to remain in the upper Bio Bio, which is a blessed place, but has many problems related to, for example, growing food. Very few low, flat areas with fertile soils. So this is for them, an orchard is a new adaptation to a new forced way of life. And on top of that, dance in their valley, This is the crafts. Roads, one tends to think that roads are always good. But in these cases, these roads were all of them built to cut the trees, for timber, forestry company. And you cut the native forest, you plant wheat, and then you plant pines and eucalyptus. Chile right now has a primary productive phase, and this is the problem we are facing. The energy has everything to do with that. We are producing copper, mainly. It's the main pillar of our economy. Even copper concentrate, they put these tubes in the mountains, and they pump mud with copper into ships. And they go and, process the copper elsewhere. And then fish meal, and then cellulose pulp or chips of pines and eucalyptus. Totally primary phase, self-destructive, and incredibly intensive in energy use, water use, super contaminant, and does not generate any human development. You know what I mean? That's where we are until today. And that's why they need the dams to feed huge mines, the forestry sector. We have 3 million hectares of pines and eucalyptus in Chile right now. Amazing. And they have, cut the native forest to produce, there goes the chips. They go in these huge trucks into ships to Japan, basically. And that's what's left for the population, literally, and that's what's left for the environment. When you cut the trees, you're not only cutting the trees, you are eliminating an ecosystem. The lichens, the fungi, the microorganisms, the insects, the birds, make the macrofauna, everything goes. And the water goes. It's the forest. There is, this, cycling the water within the ecosystem. So we are suffering very severe desertification in the south of Chile. These are the Pehuenche leaders hearing from the ecologists that these dams were coming. Nobody had consulted them. Nobody had told them anything. Can you believe that? And they didn't believe it at the beginning. They said, no way. The volcanoes, the river are going to defend themselves. This cannot happen. It happened. I mean, actually, Mariel was saying, we worked 12 years to question this project, but they wanted to build 7 dams. They were able to build 2. And they gave a death blow to the watershed, to the valley, and to the Pehuenche. Right now in the Upper Biobío, there is the highest suicide rate in Chile, triples the national average. They are the poorest counties. This is official government information. The poorest counties in Chile, Upper Biobío and Santa Bárbara. And they pay the highest tariff in electricity in Chile. Market rules. Electricity is not cheaper where it's generated, so under 2 monsters, hydroelectric monsters, but where there is more demand and consumption. So in Santiago, that is a totally collapsed city socially and environmentally. Market rules. This is the first dam appearing, Pangue. Look how beautiful that contraption is, You can see, the aesthetics of the thing. You know what dams do to rivers? Biological death. Because you cut the flow of sediments, organic and inorganic. And you are not only harming the fluvial ecosystem, also the coastline and even the interior sea. Fish come to the estuaries to feed, and you really degrade the trophic chain when you kill a river. And the watershed, you have to look at it multidimensionally. Look at that. That's a Pehuenche kid, with this new thing, barbed wire, because of the traffic of trucks and cars. And this is a Biobío dry when they were filling the reservoir of the first dam. But we stopped 5 of the dams at that point. They're building another one now, and we haven't been able to stop it. So there was a defeat, but there's also a victory. But more than that, we created a lot, seriously. And I have no problem saying it, because it's we, lots of people that did this campaign, a coalition. You need to build coalitions to face projects like this. We created a lot of awareness. Everything kind of changed around hydroelectric development in Chile after this, because we were able to make people visualize the costs and to visualize who is profiting, who are only, in the case of Chile, private companies. These are the ladies that resisted until the end, Berta, Nicolasa, Chayo. 7 women were the last stand were 7 women. Always women. That's true, huh? South America, they are the brave ones. I'm serious. 7 women without husbands, with kids, but without husband. Very curious, In fact, the company was, giving alcohol, and the males, I don't know why, we are more prone to be drunkards, it seems, whatever. Demonstrations in Santiago, these are old pictures. The policemen don't dress like this anymore. And demonstrations in the south, debates, seminars, that's United Nations, with one of the Pehuenche loncos, I'm translating, indigenous leaders from different parts, all of them suffering similar atrocities, be it for uranium, coal, iron, copper, gold, whatever, but being, assaulted, their lands, their livelihoods. A little after, again, this is the Empire State Building, freedom, liberty, And you know, Antolin, he passed away, but he lived under the volcano that I show you in the first picture from behind, an active volcano. So I always say this because he was looking at Manhattan and said, yeah, it's beautiful, but you're not very impressed. Living under a live volcano is a bit more powerful. Ceremonies that the Mapuche don't have, unfortunately. And this is very important, you know, grief, anger, hate, the paradox of hate. You think you are hating something external to you, and you might have very good reasons, but the hate is in you. And it blurs your mind, and it makes you sick, you know. So many indigenous peoples, you know, they have ways to cleanse themselves, purge themselves, using certain plants, certain rituals, fasting, ayahuasca, peyote. So you purge your grief, your hate, because if not, you cannot function properly, and you cannot better things, you know, make things better. And here we are. This is an intimate picture doing a ceremony that I learned from rooted peoples, burning aromatic plants in a conch shell, you know, east, you know, south, west, north, earth, sky, you know, offering and giving thanks, etc. But not only that, you know, remembering that we are not an ego trapped in a bag of skin, as Alan Watts used to say, you know, that we are the biosphere, air, water, food. We are the biosphere atomically, as Frankie was saying, you know, we are the biosphere. We are a process within the process of the biosphere. So when you do this kind of ceremonies, you know, I was doing it, imitating at the beginning, kind of shy and feeling a bit, you know, clumsy, strange. But it's such, you know, atavic ceremonies that it becomes ours very fast. My kids love this because you start naming everything you know, the hills, the mountains, the rocks, the rivers, the volcanoes, and to each side, you know, and we jump to North America, to Europe, you know, everything we know, and we bless everybody and everything. It's beautiful, beautiful. That's Ralco in the Bio-Bio, Monster, the second one, the fluctuation level of the reservoir, you know, it's horrible. Death, pure death. All the construction, and there the kids, you know, quotation mark, destiny, the fate of rooted peoples if we don't stop, you know, eating away at the biosphere. Do I have a little more time, Marielle? A little bit, okay. Oh, I'm sorry, I was reaching there, sorry. I just want to tell you very, very briefly the lessons learned. You know, we are, as I said, fighting this complex hydroelectric complex in Patagonia. This is very heavy. This is an anti-PowerPoint, I know. You don't need to tell me. You saw Frankie's PowerPoint perfect. 2 pictures, 1 phrase. Okay, this is horrible. This is a brick, but you know, this is on purpose. You know, we sit with the young, you know, students in Chile. We can be, you know, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours analyzing this. You know what it is? The trap that was put in Chile during Pinochet's dictatorship with the help of Mr. Milton Friedman of the University of Chicago. This is the doctrine of Mr. Friedman applied, you know, in Chile, but the whole recipe is there. It's amazing. It's interesting to study it because it's the doctrine from A to Z. Shrink the state to its minimum level, you know, privatize everything. So all the public services become businesses and very profitable business, education, health, you know, the water provision, energy, everything is a private business. Hopefully, according to Friedman, no minimum salary. In Chile, we have the minimum salary, $500, but that's a sin, according to Friedman's doctrine. And then low taxes, but even. You know, in the Scandinavian countries, maybe in this country, you have echeloned tax system. So the richer pay more. In Chile, we have flat tax. So who pays more? The people who have less. You know, right now, you know, in Chile, I cannot go imagine into the details. One thing I would like to point out, the total privatization of water in Chile. The rivers in the south of Chile are not ours. The water that flows by the rivers belongs to an Italian company today, Enel, from Rome, you know. Fulvio Conti, very similar to Berlusconi, in fact, in appearance, seriously, the same kind of person, amazing. Very interesting, seriously, to study this. It's a, how can I say, like a work of art in perversity. It's a system that disempowers people and empowers corporations. That's what it is. And perfect, like modular. And every module, you know, the constitution, the water code, the electrical law, the mining code, and political tricks, you know, everything reinforces, feedbacks back and forth. You know, it's a checkmate. It has been until today a checkmate to democracy. That's what we are fighting. You know, I used to say checkmate, but now I'm putting it like that or taking it out because a checkmate is irreversible, and this is reversible. So now, in fact, I should erase that and just leave check. But until now, it's been a checkmate. And this is the result. The 1%, you know, 3 economists now were able to use the information of the tax system and discover that 0.01% of the population, I cannot even show it there. I would have to put like a little antenna or like a little dot. 0.01 are perceiving 12% of GDP of Chile. 20% are perceiving 60%, almost 56% of GDP. The poorest 20%, 3.6, the poorest 10%, less than 1%. And we have 3 feudal clans that control single-handedly, each one of the main sectors of Chilean economy. Mining, fishing, and fuels and other things, and the mate, the forestry, and also energy. We are facing these guys in Patagonia right now. As you can understand, this is a time bomb. It cannot, you know, that is the contrary of sustainability. Sustainability is supposed to be, you know, economy, environmental sustainability, and social sustainability. There's totally unequal, right? And the system, given what we are producing, is eating away at the territory, natural resources and prime materials. This is the energy situation. I won't go into it at all, just to show you. This is my PowerPoint to make classes, you know, in universities. So civil society has had, us, our coalition, 70 organizations to start putting the discussion about the energy, you know, issue in this country, because the state is impotent, is mute. So civil society triggered the discussion about the potentials of renewables and efficiency and saving and conservation. And we discovered, with the help of some North American partners, the Natural Resources Defense Council, that we are maybe the richest country in the world in non-conventional renewable sources of energy. Sun, as I said, wind, geothermal, oceanic, and efficiency. We are not using any. Why? Because they capture the rivers, and they want to use it down to the last drop if we let them. We are not letting them now. You know, after the BOBO, we learn many lessons. And then they go for thermal plants using coal. Why? Because the market rules in Chile. So thermal plants, you build them in 3-4 years, and coal is the cheapest fuel. That's it. And since you don't have to pay the externalities, that's it. Mega business. That's what we have now. Hydro, mega hydro, and mega coal plants. These are the studies that we have been able to do, demonstrating the alternatives. You have to show the alternatives. That's the residential sector. Most of the consumption is mining, most of it. Almost 60% of the demand in Chile is mining. And the president of Chile, Piñera, in the speech of the State of the Nation, I'm finishing, he said 2 things. First, wow, we have $110 billion in mining operations coming for the next 8 years. Wow, fantastic. Not a word about the externalities. And then he said, you won't believe this, we cannot keep wasting waters by the rivers into the oceans. There's been 2 presidents of Chile that have said that. You know? Can you believe that? How can you have a president that doesn't understand a word of the hydrological cycle? It's pretty scary, seriously. Okay, the hopeful part, this is the Projects of Hope. You know, this Bachelet there, she's going to be our next president again. Wow, it's a psychological phenomenon, seriously. It wasn't a good government. This is the structure of the company. But I wanted to show you something here. You know, Patagonia, you can study it. It's a beauty. It's a biogem, you know, amazing biodiversity. But this, I wanted just to close with the achievements, the hope, the future, as you have all been stressing, you know. How do you do a campaign like this? This is a $11 billion project. We are facing the powers that be. Enel, Endesa, Spanish Endesa, Chilean Endesa, the accomplices, and the governments are accomplices, etc. How you do this? And we have blocked the project already for 5 years. You have to create a coalition, number one, as everybody has been saying. Gesico, you know, networking. 70 organizations from Chile, Argentina, Bolivia, the United States, Canada, Germany, Spain, Italy, very important. Patagonia Senza Dighe, there is a campaign in Italy. Now it's called Stop Enel, because Enel is really a destructive company. So coalition, first thing, and then multifaceted work. It's the only way. So among the 70 organizations, every organization does what they know how to do better. Some do political lobby. Somebody was asking about the politicians, you know. We are not involved with political parties, but we talk to the senators and to the members of the parliament, the lower chamber. We do everything we can. We lobby them. We go and talk to them, and bring them these books, you know, information. Some of them are changing. Many of them are against the project, senators and diputados. So politics and politicians are a reality. The Chilean parliament is corrupt. It's being paid by this corporation, but things are changing because people are starting to awaken, you know, to be awake. So media work, communications, a lot. Public information, that's our kind of mission, you know. Technical, you know, study the environmental impact assessments. You know, some people do that, it's important. Political, as I was saying. International, I told you. Energy policy, demonstrate what is the alternative, is super important. Of course, have a very powerful work at the local level with the local people. This is super important, I mean, crucial. Then this is beautiful. You know, we managed to have 15 very well-known musicians in Chile giving songs composed especially for the campaign. And we did a CD, Voces por Patagonia, beautiful. We also go into the general meetings, you know, peacefully, but we buy stock of these companies and we go and boycott everything we can. We harass them, literally. No, I have no shame in saying that, you know. So we managed to have the Chilean people discover Patagonia. Not everybody knew we had a Patagonia in our southern territory and value it, how valuable it is. We have been informing them about the potential impacts of the project, denounced the appropriation of water rights, 80% of the Chilean water rights, and 96% in Patagonia. The rivers in Patagonia cannot be touched by the local people. They belong to Enel. I'm serious, huh? Sounds like science fiction, but until now, it's true. We have had a very powerful impact. Almost 74% of the Chilean population is against the project. We have done these studies, you know. We installed and triggered the energy policy debate, the energy paradigm debate, and even a debate about the development mode, which when I started doing that in 1990, and we were the eco-terrorists. But now this is penetrating, you know, there is a powerful social movement in Chile, the students' movement. Have you heard of Camila Vallejo, Giorgio Jackson, Gabriel Boric? Brilliant, brilliant. You know, school kids. We have a structural problem in Chile. School kids, high school, you know. What is the structural problem? The constitution, the water code, the energy. We have to change all this. And the challenge is how to change all this without violence. That's our challenge. Many young people think we need to resort to violence. That's one of my, you know, I put the issue of violence in the seminars or whatever, and I get in trouble, but I do it on purpose. And they say, nothing has changed in history without violence. I say, look how we are. So maybe one of the most powerful challenges of humanity today is how to revert all this without violence. On the contrary, like Wangari Maathai, with love, with wisdom, with information, with hard work, by being responsible agents, social agents. Just finishing for you a little present, just because I've said many hard things. Beautiful pictures of Patagonia, please. How about that? The second largest lake in South America after Titicaca is in Patagonia. This is where they want to build one of the dams, the confluence of the Chacabuco and Baker River. It's so beautiful. You cannot believe. I'm going now at the end of January. Fjord in the coast of, this is a marble cathedrals in the lake. You know, look at that. It's marble. Stunning. Calafate, full of antioxidants. And ibis, bandurria, caiquenes, pink flamingos. Every day in Patagonia is a miracle. Seriously, you cannot be. That's a it's a bizcachon. He's looking at us. Seriously. That's a huemul. You know, this being is in the Chilean emblem. There are 3,000 left between Chile and Argentina only. It's an Andean deer. And half of those 3,000 are in the valley of the Pascua, where this company wants to build 3 dams. And it's an 80-kilometer long river, so they want to use the whole river. They would be destroyed, you know. And it's in the emblem, in the Chilean escudo. So if we don't act, it's going to be only in the emblem and not in the territory. That's it. It's a beauty, very strong being. You know, look at that, guanacos. Look at the forests, you know, up there in the mountains. Guanacos. That's a pornographic. No, it's a mother carrying a child. I'm sorry. Lakes, beauty, 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 beauty. Chilean dolphin. Blue whales, can you believe? 10% of the blue whales in the world found refuge in the coast of Patagonia. When you kill rivers, you are endangering whales hundreds of kilometers away because the trophic chain goes down. And the people, well, sorry, but not, I say the last but not the least, the gauchos, very special people in Patagonia. This humor, their music, their card games. You have a card game here in Austria? Well, they have their card game there. Truco, it's called truco, trick. That's a river backer that they want to dam. Can you believe that? That's tourism, very elitist until now, but can be developed in another way. There you go. How did that man survive there? Nobody knows. Fly fishing, the presence of Endesa, working with the people, you know, trying to stop different permits and stuff, you know, demonstrations. Many, many people. The young people are coming, you know, different, that's for sure. That's in Berlin. How about that? That's it for your beauty.